And great to see smiles. Good to see smiles out there. Today I'm going to talk about health. And, my title is Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. And some of you may recall Benjamin Franklin was the first person who said that. He said, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Well, we're early. Early is upon us today. So today we spring forward and we turned our clocks ahead, most of us. And, but this week also marks the beginning of Lent, this last Wednesday, which marks a 40-day period of reflection leading up to Easter in the Christian calendar. It's a time to reflect. So I create my talks based on things going on in my life. Next week I'm going into Scripps La Jolla Hospital for a little procedure to improve the rhythm of my heart. Now, I have always prided myself in having rhythm on the dance floor. But this week I'm going to improve, I'm going to uncover more of my perfection with the help of the doctors, improved rhythm for my heart. So today I thought, well, what a better time to talk about the metaphysics of health. Ernest Holmes says a lot about health. He's got a whole chapter 14 in the Science Mind textbook. But he said, you may recall, thoughts are things. And thoughts of sickness can make a person sick, while thoughts of health and perfection can heal us. So health and sickness are externalizations of our dominant mental and spiritual states of mind. So things like worry and fear and anger and jealousy, these are mental conditions. And they're often the cause of physical suffering. So until thought is healed, no form can be permanent. So health is mental. The spiritual or real person is perfect, and we seek to uncover that perfection. And this is what we do in spiritual mind treatment. We see that perfection in each of you, in ourselves. So Ernest Holmes also goes on to say, we have no objection to any form of healing, for anything that helps to overcome suffering is good, whether it be a prayer or a pill. We believe in any method which produces results. First, a little levity. Robert's not here today. He was feeling a little less healthy, but he told me this one. There's an American child, and the child asked Mommy, "What's a Canadian?" And the mommy says, "Well, honey, it's an unarmed citizen with free health insurance." And lately I've been feeling like my body has gotten totally out of shape. So I got my doctor's permission to go to a health club and start exercising. I decided to take an aerobics class for seniors. So I bent and I twisted and I gyrated and I jumped up and down and I perspired for an hour. But by the time I got my leotards on, the class was over. One last one. This is my favorite writer, Mark Twain. He was reacting to the health fads of his time. He said, "Be careful about reading health books. You may die of a misprint." And he said, part of the secret to success in life is to eat what you like. Let the food fight it out. Good old Mark. But you may recall Raymond Charles Barker, the great minister from New York. His book, The Power of Decisions, he has a chapter on health too, and he says, You have to decide to be healthy. You have to make that decision. And he also said, you know, when you do something well, you want to be praised. So our bodies are the same. Before you get out of bed in the morning, before you go to sleep at night, give gratitude. Thank you, body. Thank you for another day of what I call earth body suit, doing a great job. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, we see these commercials on TV, drug commercials, and then they have these side effects. Well, this is like planting weeds in your subconscious. And a trick to get rid of this is when you see it come on TV, mute it, turn away. Just turn away and just take a moment and say, thank you, body. Thank you, body. You're doing a great job. You know, you are a creation of the divine. So, some people, the only attention they get, though, is to talk about illness. They talk about what's wrong, what surgeries they had. And, you know, don't reinforce that. Because in religious science, we understand the law of attraction, which what you think about, you attract more of, you know, you bring about. So you have to think about health. If you want health, make a decision. Think about health. Only attract health. And in our society, many people spend their health gaining wealth. You know, and I did this, worked too many long hours, working too many hours, too high of stress levels, not enough balance between work and play and home and children, spiritual pursuits. Just remember, health is normal. Working, you know, more than 40-hour weeks is not. So I have a story. I don't know how many of you have heard of divine science. Divine science is another new thought religion, as is unity, as is Christian Science. And Nona Brooks, Dr. Nona Brooks, and her sister created Divine Science College. Nona ordained Ernest Holmes. So she was, Nona Brooks was older than Ernest, probably 20 years older. But the beliefs about medical health when she taught in the late 1800s, much different than they are today. Raymond Charles Barker tells this story in this book, Power Decision. He says, each summer, Nona Brooks and her sister vacationed in their summer home in the mountains outside Denver. One day, a farmer rushed to the house and said, Miss Brooks, you've got to come right over to the house. My wife has fallen and broken her leg. So Nona didn't hesitate for a moment. She saddled her horse and she rode it to the neighbor's farm, where she found the poor woman in great agony. She sat down at the bedside, closed her eyes, and gave the woman a spiritual mind treatment. Now, as she continued to treat, she heard the bones slip back into place. When she finished her treatment, the woman stated she was free of pain. Miss Brooks told the woman to get some rest, and she would return the next day. When she arrived the next day, the woman was up and doing chores. Miss Brooks told Raymond Charles Barker, I thought nothing of it. It was what I expected. Now, Nona Brooks had said, faith in God makes us whole. Health is wholeness. It's our normal state. There's no mystery in healing because God is health. So this type of healing in today's world would be rare. and that we do spiritual mind treatments for people. It's rare because spiritual mind treatments have not really been competitive against Western medicine because it's limited to people who view life as spiritual experience. And our society, we have money and we have great doctors and we have great machines and we have great drugs. But we can use both. And we know we're spiritual beings, as well as the doctors and the nurses and the technicians. Now, thank you, Odie. You almost did my whole talk for me, but yes, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, first wealth is health. And Virgil said, the greatest wealth is health. But health is the greatest gift we give to ourselves. We have to change our thinking, though. Last week, we talked about health in our class. And we talked about this book, Mind Over Medicine, Lisa Rankin, Dr. Lisa Rankin. Pretty amazing. She says, what if you have the power to heal your body just by changing how your mind thinks and feels? So what she does is she goes through many scientific proofs and many scientific studies, and she shows, yes, scientific proof, you heal yourself. You can heal yourself. And Ernest Holmes, I like this because in the preface of the religious science textbook, Ernest said, there is a day when religion and science walk hand in hand. This is the day. This is the way. She says, there's one example. She has multiple examples of healing, but one woman, she said, whose cancer shrank away during the radiation treatment, only to find out later that the machine was broken. She didn't receive any but she thought she had. She believed that she had. And Dr. Rankin calls it being injected with hope. The power of the mind transforms the body. And she says there's proof, not that doctors so much facilitate your recovery because of the treatments, because the authority that you ascribe to them, you believe they have the power to heal you. So you place that authority on them. And we talked in class last week about placebos, and this is why they work, because we believe that we are being healed. And that's the power of the mind. She said, if we talk to our children differently, we could lay the seeds of healing for the next generation. And the example, she says, if her child gets hurt, she doesn't automatically run and get a Band-Aid or run and take him to the doctor. Well, of course, if they broke a leg or something, but what she does, she says to her child, she says, this Band-Aid or this pill, she says, this is to help you heal yourself. What if we were trained that way when we were little? This is to help you heal yourself. Who does the healing? So she goes on to describe her own health crisis, because when she was younger, her mother used to say, well, if you eat salt, you're going to have high blood pressure. Her family doesn't have a history of high blood pressure. There's no high blood pressure in it. There are no other genetic issues, but she got high blood pressure. So she said she had to learn to cure herself by weeding out these subconscious thoughts. So how do we do that? Psychology calls it adaptive thinking. We have to start weeding out the subconscious beliefs. And part of that is also to see issues not as obstacles, but as somehow a benefit. What is it that we're learning? What can we learn? What does this issue, this illness, have to tell us? So some tips she mentions is maintain a positive attitude, prioritize your well-being, you come first. Stop working long hours. And she talks about preventive care because health as wealth, we understand the value of preventive care and lifestyle choices. You know, most of you keep your car out. You take it in every so many thousand miles. You get the oil change, you get the air filter changed, you get all kinds of things to prevent any breakdown of the car. That's what you have to do for you. You have to help yourself. And our bodies are more complex than cars. And in addition to maintenance, we need attitude adjustments. So the body is the house in which, for the present, you're living, and you need to keep it in good repair by a right mental attitude. Your body is entitled to respect. So make wise choices that add to your health. Another Mark Twain quote, this is a serious one. He said, "I'm an old man. I've known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened." And why do you suppose that is? Because we worry. We worry and what if, and worst case scenarios never happen. And want to tell you a little story because I saw in the book she was talking about scientific studies about loneliness poisoning people and why it's important to have friends and come together. He says this story, loneliness is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness is worse than obesity. It's associated with cognitive decline and dementia. So here's a little story. A holy man is having a conversation with the Lord one day and said, "Lord, I'd like to know what heaven and hell are like." The Lord led the man to 2 doors, and he opened one of the doors. The man looked in. In the middle of the room was a large round table. In the middle of the table was a large pot of stew, which smelled delicious and made the holy man's mouth water. The people sitting around the table, though, were thin and sickly. They appeared to be famished. They were holding spoons with very long handles that were strapped to their arms, and each found it possible to reach into the pot and take a spoonful, but because the handle was longer than their arms, they couldn't get the spoons back to their mouths. The holy man shuddered at the sight of his misery and suffering. And the Lord said, "You have seen hell." Then they went to the next room and opened the door. Exactly the same as the first one. Large round table, big pot of stew, made the holy man's mouth water. The people were equipped with the same long-handled spoons, but the people were well nourished and plump and laughing and talking. And the holy man said, "Well, I don't understand." "Oh, it's simple," said the Lord. "It requires but one skill. You see, they have learned to feed each other, while the greedy only think of themselves. So remember, share your spoon." And friendship promotes health. I wanted to mention a researcher that was talked about. His name is Danny Hillis. He's a computer scientist, and he's developed what's called proteomics, which talks about studies dealing with what he calls conversations unfolding at a protein level. Now, these are scientific people. He says he does a study to better describe how diseases like cancer operate. And he says, quote, "Cancer is a breakdown at the level of the conversation that's going on between the cells in the body. Somehow the cells are deciding to divide when they shouldn't. Or they're not telling each other to die when they should. Or telling each other to make blood vessels when they shouldn't. Or telling each other lies. So it seems like the health of our body is tied to the ability of our members to converse. The cells talk to each other. It's interesting, I don't know if some of you read the book Conversations with God, Neil Walsh. He says, all illness is self-created. Even conventional medical doctors are now seeing how people make themselves sick. Most people don't do so consciously. They do it unconsciously. People smoke and wonder why they get cancer. They stay angry all their life and wonder why they have heart attacks. They compete with each other and are under stress and wonder why they have a stroke. People worry themselves to death. Worry, hate, fear. Anxiety, bitterness, impatience, unkindness, judgmentalness, etc. But Lisa Rankin says, no matter what the disease, there's always a divine and boundless capacity for healing. Well, maybe Irma said that too. Yeah. So all life is one, and God is the one life in which we live. God is health. I just wanted to mention about the body. When I was reading this, I was surprised. The heart creates this electrical field around it, which is greater than the brain's electromagnetic field. And your heart pumps 2,000 gallons of blood each day. That's enough to fill a swimming pool. It beats 100,000 times a day. Thank you, heart. And in an average lifespan of 79 years, your heart beats almost 3 billion times. Also, scientists found out that an average person can process 74 gigabytes of data a day, and the human brain can retain 4.7 billion books, according to scientists who measured the storage capacity of synapses in your brain. That's a lot. And also, I was reading that the average human brain has the ability to store 2.5 million gigabytes, while today's most powerful superconductor matches the human brain in computing power, but it consumes 1 million more times energy. So we do it a little less. Our cells, you have 30 trillion cells in your body, and they communicate. So listen to what they're telling you. And I'm not going to sing the song, Odie, but there's a little song we used to sing as a kid. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Remember that one?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think if you could sing that and listen to your cells and see, what do they need? Is there some food they need? Is it more rest? Do they need more sunshine? Just talk to them. They're special. So I just want to say in closing, give gratitude. Give gratitude. Remember who you are. You're not a product of chance or luck. You are an intentional creation of a perfect God who poured love into every cell that dances inside of you. God in us, as us, and through us can only express according to its nature, which is perfection. So you are perfect. So it is. So it is.